All right, guys, we're joined by head coach Megan Duffy. Coach, want to open it up real quick, and then we'll do questions.
Happy first week of school. It's great to have you all here, getting a women's basketball update. Just a lot of energy right around campus with the student body coming back. We got football, obviously, starting here in a few days, and I'm just thrilled to be here and talk about our team a little bit.
Questions? Raise your hands. We'll get you the wireless microphone. Start on the right with David.
What have the last couple of months been like? You know, getting to know your team a little bit better and kind of get everything in place for this fall.
I thought we had a great 8 weeks of summer workouts. Brought the team in, whether that's talking about our new freshman, Lonnie White, our new transfer, the returners, and I think the purpose of those 8 weeks were a couple things. Get to know each other off the court first. I think when you start to build those relationships, you start to understand then what your team can do on the court. So we spent a lot of time, whether that was getting out in the community with a couple community service events, whether that was out in the Cascades doing a hike, coming over to my house to hang out and eat. So we started with that, and then obviously we lay the foundation of our basketball team and trying to find everybody's strengths. I think one of these first few weeks in the summer, it's really formative that you're understanding what they do well. It's a young team. You're laying your culture down. So I thought we got off to a great start with putting that foundation in place. And then there's just something when you come back for school, just the energy of real, true workouts, that preseason. We have about 4 weeks until the actual first day of practice, and trying to build momentum off of what we learned in the 8 weeks.
To have a bunch of them back,
Mm-hmm.
did that make it any easier, just knowing that there's already kind of a core group that you're kind of working with?
I know for them, I asked a lot of questions to those returners, anything from, how they used to do some things. And, when you've had a successful program in the past, you don't want to totally change everything. And so just getting some of the opinions of, Rose Mishaw and, Karis Baker, Mackie Nelson and Carly, just they've been through a lot of different situations. So getting their opinions on things was important. And then making sure we were connected with, our new way of doing things. And I think the difference with these returners, as we've talked about a couple times, they just have incredible opportunity ahead. So as much as they've been at Tech, they know this fan base and the success of what this program has done. It's really important that they establish their roles with that, and that's what we're building with those returners. But I appreciate them a lot for just their guidance as much as we're going to guide them as a coaching staff. Them being able to help us as a new staff as well.
Stay in the front with Mark.
To follow up on the summer workout, so what do you now know about your team that you didn't know a few months ago in terms of what are the kind of the overall strong suits of this team and what styles of play offensively, defensively might suit them?
I think first and foremost, we're trying to establish our work ethic and the toughness we want to bring with our team. And before you start talking about X's and O's and your defensive philosophy, it's what you bring every day in the weight room, on the conditioning side of things. And we will continue to talk about that through preseason. We want to create everyday kids, which means they're in the gym on their own, getting shots with their teammates in the mornings, at night, just falling in love with that game of basketball. And to me, that preparation is what's going to build our confidence into who we will become. After that, I think we're still working through, some of our philosophies. I've talked before about my teams in the past have been, very disciplined. We've shared the ball, we've spaced the floor. I like this group because they're young in some ways. We're going to be able to form them into 3-level scorers. Paint production is always really important. Being able to shoot the three. So just getting them confident to do that in skill work is what we've been focused on. And the other part, I think, of summer and fall basketball is, they got to get out and play a little bit. So we're playing a lot of 2-on-2, 3-on-3, finding that chemistry with different, combinations of players. And, they do a lot of that on their own too, which is nice that they're figuring out that chemistry before, the coaches even come in and put their 2 cents in.
So have you figured out, like, okay, what we ran at Marquette offensively, defensively, we can do the same thing here, or I just need to tweak this, or maybe do something different in this area?
Yeah, I think the great thing about our teams at Marquette is we shared the basketball at a high clip. We were extremely tough. We ran a pro-style offense, which means we had a lot of spacing, 4 out, 1 in, 5 out at times. We had an inside presence, we had an outside presence. So absolutely we want to take some of those characteristics. But I think the thing I've learned a long time ago is you got to fit your team and you got to fit what they do well. And we're going to keep tweaking that as we move through preseason.
Hey, Coach Miriam. Last time we talked to each other was actually at the Roanoke Valley, the
Yeah.
Hokie Club stuff. So we talked about a lot about chemistry. You were looking forward to getting to know the girls and building on that. With it being in the summer, were you surprised what the returners were able to do, especially now about to be able to go into the X's and O's when the season's going to be starting?
I'm just proud of them, the way they've adapted to change, the way we've settled down from the coaching change and, bringing in some new philosophies. And, I think we've just talked about them being leaders of our buy-in, and they're great to be around. They're funny. We always have a good time when we're just kicking it in the office and hanging out or at one of our houses. And I think that means a lot with our program as we start to build it for this season. And they've been great. Even somebody like Lonnie White, who's new to the program, being open to help the younger players and different examples like that. I think we continue to see, and when that chemistry is right, I think the good parts of the basketball side will start to fill in.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned this is a pretty young group overall, or new players coming in.
Yeah.
Sort of who's stepped up outside of Rose or maybe Matilda in this summer 8-week period that's sort of stepped up in the team?
Yeah, I think they've all stepped up in different ways. I think, the demands of what they have to do on and off the court has been heightened a little bit. And what I mean by that is just, their plan of how they want to get in the gym, how they want to improve. I just like their eagerness to want to try what we're having them try. And that means, the pickup, the 3-on-3 games, the 4-on-4 games. Carly, who's been through a lot of this in different ways, has been really good with bringing her competitiveness. Somebody like Matilda has a really good just sense of the game. And you can see her going over in practice and talking to different, of our young players or new players. And so we've talked about leading as a core group together. It doesn't have to be just, Rose or Matilda because they're seniors. It's going to be that collection of people who are returning. I really believe freshmen can lead in their own way with how they approach the game and how quickly they can learn. And I really, to kind of bring up the last group is, that group of sophomores. Mackie Nelson will have an opportunity to be on the court this year. Karis Baker, we saw her have some wonderful moments in her freshman year. And, Somaya Suffren, who I think, will maybe show the most growth out of anybody in some ways. I think they're all just confident. They're excited to go into the grind with all of us. And, if we have all those 11 pieces working together and just driven, not by anything on the outside, but just what's in front of us and, that day-to-day process, I think we'll see some huge growth throughout these next few months.
You sort of touched on Mackie Nelson there, a highly touted freshman who redshirted last year. What has she shown in these 8 weeks, and what can the fan base sort of expect as she heads into the season?
Yeah, I got to watch Mackie a lot in her high school and AAU days, and, she's just a tough, hard-nosed kid. She does the right thing. She wants to be good. She's a kid that's been in the gym a lot this summer. I'm really excited just from that, point guard and combo guard position, just to mold and shape her and just teach her the game and, hear her thoughts on everything. And I know she's just chomping at the bit to play. When you redshirt, there's tons of positives with it, but that back of your mind is like, I just want to be out there on the court with my team. And so it'll be really cool just to see her go through some of those moments for the first time and, play in front of that crowd that she's been a part of, but it's a little bit different when you actually know you're going to be able to get in the game.
Hi, Coach. I'm Nels Williams with ESPN Blacksburg. Is there anybody else besides Rose or Mackie that came into this summer that has taken a very large step and has really made a lot of strides that you're really excited to see hit the court this fall?
I know maybe this isn't the specific answer, but when you're brand new and you got 11 new players and new roles, every day there's somebody that's showing us a nice glimpse of what the season can be. And we've challenged them with their toughness, with their work ethic. We're going beyond of what's asked of them, and we've taken a step back at times. We've gone 2 steps forward, and then that's the great part of the summer and fall. You want to make it hard for them. You want to challenge them mentally and physically, and so when we get to the season, it gets a little bit easier and sometimes. So I don't know if it's one player. I just think, top to bottom, seniors down to the freshmen, they've all shown different examples of how they're going to step up and help us.
And you mentioned earlier the spirit of the fan base, seeing the Virginia Tech class of 2028 and seeing the core cadets recently. What's it been like to just to see campus as you would envision it in all of the images or videos that you've seen online in person and seeing everyone just back in Blacksburg?
I got to watch this campus and this university from afar, and to be in it and be a small piece of it is absolutely incredible. Just to go over and speak to the new class with the core cadets was just really inspirational for me. They had just got done with their kind of orientation, boot camp, and just to see them bring energy and just the pride of the school and university. Coach Pry and I just wanted them to know we had their backs and we appreciate all their support. So when you have moments like that, it just gives you more motivation to want to make your program better. I had the opportunity to be in front of the freshman student body a couple days ago, and we're all learning the cheers together, and we're all anticipating Enter Sandman here in just a few short days, and just to now know that this is home and this is part of the norm is pretty incredible. And the other piece of that, the fact that we've sold out our season tickets already, and workouts just started yesterday, obviously. So just to know this is a special place for athletics and women's basketball continues to inspire myself and our coaching staff. And I think these young women get it. They want to work hard for this fan base and for their student body. And as much as we're young and growing and building, I think we all know that situations like this don't happen all the time, and we don't take it for granted, the support.
Go back on the right to Mark and David.
You mentioned 11 players. I guess how much with that number of scholarship players is that going to be a nerve-wracking season for you? Kind of, are you watching workouts, fingers crossed that no one gets hurt? I guess. How do you kind of approach the season and how you want to play, given just 11 players?
Yeah, I don't think 11 is a problem. I don't know who said it is. We have the opportunity to have guy practice players, walk-ons. We have our 11, and when we're building, we want to make sure we have the right pieces to the puzzle. I've never been a coach that worries about people getting hurt. You prepare the right way. You buy into your strength and conditioning, and you don't think about it. Actually, you think about competing and being tough, and that's how we're approaching. So I don't know who thought of the golden number of what your roster should be, but we're excited about the group we have.
I was curious. This summer they announced the ACCSEC Challenge pairings. Were you relieved that they didn't decide to put Virginia Tech and Kentucky together?
No, I mean, I just was happy to know who our opponent was, and scheduling is so interesting. We just came out with our non-conference here a little bit ago, and we're waiting on conference play and get that all straightened out, but we're thrilled to go down and have an opportunity to play at Georgia. I played there, it probably was over 7 or 8 years ago. Got the opportunity to play them, so looking forward to that challenge. And I know at the ACC, just at meetings, we have a lot of pride in trying to knock off as many SEC opponents as we can, and I'm sure they feel the same way. So I think it's awesome, this challenge, and there's some great matchups. And from my side, as our coach, we don't really worry about who's coming in or if we're going on the road. We just want to have a good quality win.
Did Virginia Tech or maybe Tech and Kentucky ask the conferences and ESPN, hey, maybe not put us together this first year? Was that something that was a request was made? Or
I have no idea.
You mentioned that you guys dropped the schedule. The Fort Myers tournament's one you're very familiar with. How excited are you to get down there and see those challenges and some familiar faces? It's
a great tournament. We went last year at Marquette, and just the arena is really just state of the art. The way they treat you, the teams that are going in and out between the men's side and the women's side. Obviously, you guys know our men's basketball team's going down there a few days earlier for their side of the tournament. I think it's going to be a great field. You got on our side, you got Michigan, us, Belmont. You got Davidson, all teams who have been very successful. So we had a great experience last year with it, and then when we had the opportunity to jump back in, I definitely was intrigued by it. And then I found out our men were going. I'm like, awesome! All the fans can stay down there and watch some good basketball. But it's a great tournament, and we're thrilled to be a part of it.
You mentioned Somaya has maybe taken the most growth of anyone. What has stood out to you about her and the way she's carried herself?
Yeah, she's just growing every day. That freshman year can be just incredibly challenging. You're just getting acclimated to the grind of school and ball. Obviously, when you had somebody like Georgia Amore, phenomenal guard, and some of the younger players are trying to learn and grow off of that. And you make a ton of mistakes when you're a freshman, and I think she just almost in some ways feels like she has a fresh start and a new opportunity to prove herself. I got to watch her in AAU and on the high school scene, and she's athletic, she's quick. quick. I think she hasn't even scratched the surface of what she's shown so far. And again, she's got some great leaders around her with our coaching staff, with Atora Coleman and Charnay Zoll-Norman and myself, who have a lot of experience, coaching guard play, just to help her navigate through these ups and downs and get her confidence back. I just look forward to watching her grow. I think the cool thing about her too is we can move her around all different places on the floor, whether that's a defensive idea or whether she can get out on the wing, she can bring the ball up. So I always talk about, from the guard position, versatility instead of labeling a kid something or another, and I think she fits that. So I'm excited to grow with her in these next couple months.
You mentioned your staff. We all talk about the players, but what's it been like to get to know your staff and learn and kind of get familiar with them, and what, having two former head coaches, what's it like to have their experience, as sounding board for you?
It's difficult at times to take over a program and all the change, and I just can't tell you how excited I am to come to work every day with the staff. You just have the blend of experience, like you mentioned, with former head coaches. I've always been a lifelong learner, so as many people that I can learn from, and you come into a place like Tech and you're constantly just hearing new ideas and new thoughts that are maybe different than yours. I love that piece of it. You got a young aspiring head coach in Charnay Zoll-Norman who, is leading our recruiting charge and, keeping us on our toes, making sure we're doing the right things. And, even my chief of staff, Megan Williams, Caitlin Eisler, who I brought over from Marquette, like them keeping this program, thinking like a national championship caliber program with the way we operate and do things. It's been phenomenal. I've had just a breath of fresh air and just a rejuvenation for me as well. The other cool thing, it takes a village sometimes. Our younger support staff members, who are all eventually probably want to get into coaching, just the way they're mature and handling things, and there's no small duty that we won't all do together, and that part's just really cool. And I just can't wait as we go through this season. There's going to be so much that goes into a college basketball season. You all know you got to have a little bit of luck. You got to lay that foundation, but the fact that I have the best of the best in the country with this staff is a blessing, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to help lead them as well.
Coach Raza Marani for 3304 Sports. Nice to finally meet you. David and Mark kind of touched on, the ACCSEC Challenge, Fort Myers. You guys are also heading back to the Ally tip-off to play Iowa. These are exciting invitations to receive, but as the leader of this program in your first year, what kind of opportunity does it present for you to showcase, okay, this is what we're about in the early goings of your first season here?
Yeah, I mean, when you put together your schedule in your first year, sometimes you have control over it, and sometimes things have already been put in place. I don't worry too much about that either way. As we move forward year to year, we're going to be able to, have just some different strategy based on, the roster you have and what you're trying to kind of accomplish. The opportunity that we get to come back to the Ally Tip-Off Classic is incredible. To go down to Charlotte, I heard the atmosphere was amazing last year. To play Iowa, South Carolina's in the game, before. So just to have that opportunity to be on the national scene. We've watched women's basketball continue to grow and take steps with these sellout crowds and these environments, and the fact that we get to do that again is awesome. And then with these MTE tournaments, being able to go in kind of a neutral setting and where it's kind of the battle of who wants to bring their fan base and all that, we always appreciate that opportunity to play people in neutral settings as well. So you kind of try and put all the ingredients together to make a good schedule. We got Rutgers coming in, which they'll be much improved, I think, from past years. And we're going to have to bring it. And having a young team go into those settings is going to be definitely, challenging. But, when I look at the overall picture, you get phases of this, right? We're in preseason right now. We'll talk about, obviously, non-conference as we get a little bit closer. But you're constantly, talking about the growth every single day. We don't look too far ahead to an ACC opponent or the SEC Challenge because we have that task ahead and, that first game November 4th. And even as we approach workouts now, we don't really talk about our first game too much. We talk about the things we need to do to get this ship moving in the right direction and get the kids, time and experience. And then when that opponent comes up, we're ready to go. But we're honored to be in some of these big profile games, and we want to continue to put our program out on the national stage.
Travis, do you have anything on Zoom?
All right, on Zoom, we ask that you use the raised hand function. Identify yourself and your affiliation. We'll start with Mitchell.
Thanks for having me. Hey, Coach Duffy. The question I had, just kind of piggybacking off of what David asked you about your staff, just specifically about Ettore Coleman and Jen Hoover. Was it important for you to add two coaches who have so much experience in the ACC, both of them being former head coaches in this league, and then Coach Icy coming from UNC most recently?
Yeah, I thought it was just a feather in the cap to be able to bring someone and two people that had tremendous AC experience, and then you throw in Charnay, who played, back in the day in the league. They're ACC-driven people. They talk about different experiences they've had. I had the opportunity to work with Ettore back at Marquette for a year during the COVID time, and when you're going through a year like so many of us went through that was challenging, and you had to create and do things you never thought you would have had to as a coach. We went to war together and just got to just build a tremendous relationship. And obviously she moved on to Carolina for a few years, but when I had this opportunity to, potentially reach out to her to see if she was interested was just awesome that it was like no time had left. She was excited to help me. I have a lot of respect for what she does for our student athletes, the way she pours into them. She has knowledge of the league. She's a great recruiter and player development coach. And there's something to be said when you have somebody that has your back on everything you do and supports where we're going with this program. It's a great feeling. And then when I talk about Jen, I knew Jen from afar. I watched some of her successes. I called around a little bit about her, and the same themes of she just takes care of our players so well. She's one of the best post coaches in the country. She understands the grind of what we're all going to go through. She can mentor people below her. She can help me as the head coach because she's been in that seat. It was amazing just how these pieces start to unfold. And, people ask, how's it doing meshing with all the personalities and experience? And I'm like, it's wild how easy it's been. We come in, we're synergized together. We can talk through things. We're direct with each other. Everybody has a pretty distinct role and responsibility. And the ultimate thing is to help our student athletes. And I can't wait for you all to meet them more on a more personal level, and hopefully whether it's through interviewing or watching them on the sideline or through maybe some social media content, but they're just tremendous people first and incredible coaches. So the experience is always a good thing.
Thanks, Coach. Best of luck. See you in Charlotte.
Thank you.
Anything else on Zoom? If not, we'll send it back inside to Carter.
To follow up on the non-conference schedule, since that was announced today,
yeah.
What are your impressions of the quality of the non-conference schedule as a whole, the quality of the home non-conference schedule, and if there was any kind of strategy or things you were looking to accomplish by putting it together?
Yeah, non-conference it's becoming so unique every year because now we have our conference realignment, right? So you're playing some new teams, your travel's a little different. Last year in the ACC, for a few years prior, there were some pods where you knew who you were playing. Now this is conference, everybody's playing everybody once, and then you have your rival game with UVA twice. And so once you have that, you kind of have to build a little bit off of, exam schedule. We have the SEC, ACC challenges, we have one conference game kind of, squeezed in there in non-conference play. So you just have to find that mix of games where your team's going to get confidence. You're going to play different styles. I'm a big believer in that of you don't want to play a non-conference every team who plays the same way. You want to be unique to get yourself ready for ACC play. And, I think with a young team, we will approach every game like it's the most important game of the season because, again, when you have people who need the experience and, are working through with a new coach, you got to kind of take it one day at a time and one step at a time. But like I mentioned before, some of it we could control, some of it was already set. But I think it's a good and challenging first year for us.
David, you closed out.
You mentioned Lonnie. She's your only transfer. Mm-hmm. I saw an article when she committed. I looked her up, and I saw an article where the Utah coach was just raving about her energy and how she brings that excitement every single time. What has been your impressions of her since she's joined your group, and what has she brought to your team?
I think Lonnie's going to be so fun to watch how she develops. I think she's chomping at the bit for a new role and a new opportunity. And we made the decision not to bring a ton of transfers in. We wanted to kind of be real strategic with, the type of players and positions we brought in. And she's just fun to work out on the court with. She's a 3-level scorer. She's learning kind of her niche of, when to shoot her pull-up and when to get downhill and when to shoot her three. I think there's a ton of great basketball ahead for her. And then to talk about the energy, she brings it. She's a great teammate. She's trying to be super competitive in these workouts too. And so I'm really looking forward to, building a relationship more with her as we go and putting her into the fire a little bit more. But she's been good coming into a new situation, a new coach, a new environment, to just try and embrace all the change and, keep it simple. Give it your best effort every day, have a great attitude, and the talent will eventually show, we think.
You said about 4 weeks until you guys officially start practice. What do these next couple weeks look like? What are you trying to work on? And obviously everybody's dealing with classes, schedules, and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like preseason, we always say back in the day, was so much longer. As a player, former player, you'd be like, I just can't wait to get to practice because preseason is like 8 weeks. It's really short now because obviously the season starts earlier and earlier. We try and get them acclimated this first week, make sure they know where they're going on campus, getting their routine going of, when to eat, where to eat, how to get their extra work in and all that. And then, week 2, 3, and 4, we really push it on the strength and conditioning side, getting them into shape and getting ready for practice time. And I don't think it'll feel too much different than the summer because we're building off of kind of week by week. But I know they're excited to get going and lay more of the foundation. And we've kind of called it phase 2. Phase 1 was the summer. This is phase 2. This next 4 weeks, and then obviously when coaches get 20 hours with the players, it's pretty cool because you can watch more film. You can break things down differently. You can get those extra little workouts in, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and help them build their confidence as they go.
What is the first day of practice?
We're starting today. Yeah, so we didn't go yesterday. I always give them the first day to find their classes, especially all my freshmen, and get the routine. But they were in on their own doing their work, and then here in a little bit we'll get going with our first group workout.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
So you had summer